So Gary, once the band starts to work on their new album, say you've got a singer, a bassist, a lead guitarist, and a drummer, once they start to put the music together, what should they do to protect themselves as individually, to say, I wrote that part of the song, or should you look at it more as a group, the band, rather than the individual?
Well, no, the individuals if they've all contributed to the copyright, or I should say to the work, then they're all authors, and they're all co-authors, and they're all joint owners, and there's no division as to, well, I wrote more words than you did. Okay, they're all just a co-owner.
Are words as important as the music to it? Are they?
Well, it all depends. I mean, there are certain songs out there that have one phrase is memorable, so that's going to mean a lot more than say the rest of the song. But if you're going to register the entire song, then it's all taken in a totality of circumstances.
Okay. What is a work for hire?
Work for hire is a good example. I'll use me and you. Say you want me to do something for you. You want me to create a musical composition for you. You come to me, I pay you to do it. And if I pay you to do it, and if it's in writing, specifically a work for hire, then I own the copyright, not you, even though you created it. And that's the exception to the general rule, which is if you create it, you own it.
So you paid me to do something, I did it for you, you own it because you paid for it.
That's right. It's got to be in writing, though. Work for hire has to be in writing.
It does. Doesn't matter what kind of writing, does it have to be notarized or?
It has to be indicated that there's a work for hire under the copyright laws.
Okay, so there is a specific clause that's saying I'm doing this for work for
Yeah.
hire, and you use specific language from the Copyright Office?
Well, no, you don't have to do any specific language, but you must say it's a work for hire
Okay.
pursuant to the copyright laws.
Now, how is that different from an assignment of rights?
Assignment of rights would be, take me and you, for example. You create the work. I don't pay you for it or anything, but you create the work, but I want to buy it from you. So the important thing to remember is there's two components to this. Buying the work is one thing. Buying the copyright is another. So you could sell me the score of music. You could still keep the copyright, or you could sell me the copyright. That's an assignment of the copyright.
So Gary, when a band is working or about to work with a record label, what are some of the common demands or requirements that a label might have as far as getting those assignments of rights that they have the right to sell the music and then make a profit off?
Well, you're right. I mean, a record label will probably want to buy the rights, which means an assignment's involved, but doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I mean, you can work out anything amongst the parties, especially the smaller the organizations, the smaller the band, the smaller the record label. You can normally work out anything you want to work out.
Is it advisable to bring in somebody like you to represent the band when working with a record label?
Well, it's always advisable because this is what we do for a living. And, like I tell people, you don't need a lawyer, but you don't need a dentist. I suppose I could extract teeth, but it's just not going to be as professional
Right.
as if a dentist went and done it. So same type of thing.
Are there differences between a band and a solo musician?
Well, probably in terms of trademark there might be, because you got a solo musician, a lot of times they go by their name, so there won't be as many trademark issues associated with that. But a band normally wants to pick a fanciful name, and so consequently there will be more trademark issues there. But as far as copyright is concerned, no, other than all the band members will be authors on songs that they create, and of course the individual will only be the author of that one piece he or she creates.
Follow up with that. If I write a great acoustic song and then I register it, I've got maybe even an acoustic album out. I bring in some band members, say a bassist and a drummer, just to fill it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't create their music. They're just adding. What does that leave us? Is that?
No, it's a good question because it leaves you in the gray area sometimes. A lot of times you can alleviate the gray area through a contract between the parties. For example, you could say, well, look, I'm going to hire you guys to come in to work with me on this score, but let's put it in writing right away. Anything you create is mine. You can do the work for hire thing or an assignment, a requirement of an assignment.
So you could just say, I'll give you guys $75 an hour to lay down your bass track, and then that's a work for hire.
That's
the
right.
artist would be
That's
covered.
right. You could do a contract. It's always advisable to have a written contract on everything. I've heard the old adage, which is it's a handshake. Back in the old days, everything was a handshake. Look, nobody understands exactly what was in the other person's mind with a handshake. And in complicated transactions like copyright, if you're mowing someone's grass, maybe a handshake's okay. But in this case right here, unless you lay it out, that's the only way to be sure everybody understands.
Should a band ever, or is it advisable to incorporate, say, as an LLC, or if there's multiple people, an LLP?
It depends. A lot of times it depends on the tax consequences that you want involved. Now, when you incorporate, now you've got different tax consequences. You've got to file a different tax structure, where if you're not incorporated and you're filing as a sole proprietorship, sometimes when there's a group, it's good because now you've got like a common entity that is the owner of things, rather than a bunch of joint owners. So I think it depends more on the personalities involved and the tax consequences people want to get.
Is liability, I guess that might be one of the big things that makes an LLC seem like a good idea for a band, is if something happens some night, that it's not going to be on me personally, it'd be on the LLC. Would a band fall into the same protection?
It would, and a lot of people think there's too much protection sometimes with an LLC. Yes, an LLC is a corporate layer that gives you a little more protection than being an individual. However, if that LLC doesn't have any assets and all the assets are in the individual, lawyers are going to try to do what they call pierce the corporate veil, which can be done. So, and for example, just having an LLC doesn't prevent you from getting sued either. They'll sue the LLC and the individuals, and then work it out as to who's responsible.
So it is a potential protection, but it's not a get out of jail free card. It's
That's
not
right.
a bulletproof vest.
Right.
What are some other legal exposures that we haven't talked about that a band might come across?
Well, I think the most common thing that I've seen, in other words, if you create your own work, you really don't have an issue too much with someone saying, hey, that's mine. Very rarely do people, reputable people, copy someone else's work and then go ahead and try to start a band or start a copyright with that stolen material. The biggest issue is the trademark. Because not only do you have the trademark office to be concerned with if you want to get a registered trademark, you've got folks out there that are going to perhaps be writing. If you're famous and you're making money, there'll be somebody out there that says, look, I've had this band for a while and that's our trademark, or you're using a name that would cause a likelihood of confusion with them, which might be even a ridiculous statement, but they can do it.
Right.
So.
Well, Gary, how does a band or anyone, I guess, that sees this interview, how do they get in touch with you? Where are your offices located?
The easiest way is to Google me, Gary Lambert or Lambert and Associates. I'll come up certainly in Boston and Nashville right away, probably at the top. But my website is lambertpatentlaw.com, and I know it just says patents there, but of course we do patent, trademark, and copyright. Just all didn't fit into that domain name.
Yeah.
But I've got offices at 159 Main Street in Nashua and at 92 State Street in Boston.
And then does it cost money for a consultation to meet with? And
Not at all. You can do the consultation over the phone or in person. Either way, the first meeting is free. Normally I like to limit it to an hour, but first meeting's free.
If you knew what it was about me that you couldn't get enough of, you wouldn't be standing here just hanging on every word coming out of my mouth. No, you wouldn't. So hold up, let me kick it to you one time. Gonna lay it down smooth with the bass line. Ain't a rapper, I don't claim to be one, just a guy with the guitar who likes to have fun.